right, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 12:02. First item of order is attendance.
Corey,
Here.
Ellis,
Here.
Malone,
Here.
Harp,
Here.
Easy, Fellows.
Here,
Jill
Got it.
just got on.
DC's on.
Nice. We are all here. Excellent. New business, part A, minutes. I assume everybody saw the minutes from the March 12th meeting on the online stuff. I don't know that they got printed here. But can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the March 12th meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the March 9th meeting, March
Thank you,
12th
Colleen.
meeting, rather.
Thank you, Colleen.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, fiscal year 2026 impact fee annual inflationary increase.
So thank you. So I'll not even bother talking about this slide. We've talked about it at the last meeting, or maybe that was 2 meetings ago. But basically we've been using BCI for 3 or 4 years now. And we use that over the CCI because of the skilled labor component. And as we also talked about a couple of meetings ago, historically, that's been great for, what seems like a good match to what our changing expenses have been. But as you can see here, given the unique, kind of things that are happening in our microcosm, 1.6% is probably not the inflation that we saw last year. And almost certainly won't be the inflation we see this year. Not that anybody really knows where that's gonna sort out.
Yeah.
All right. So this, someone in my department forced me to relabel it. I had it as Tony's chart. But this just shows actually, unlike the year in question, here it's actually slightly ticking up again.
Right.
So, obviously what we don't see here is May could be a pretty big jump, right? But we'll deal with that next year. For now, we're just looking retroactively to what it was last year.
Thank you.
No problem. And then one thing I wanted to throw out here is, and again, this is not for consideration this year, it's just something to be thinking about, and we can kind of iterate on it if it's interesting over the next year. I don't want to throw a wrench in the process at this point. But I did find some city-specific indices. And as you can see, the 3 that I pulled that are, in a very broad sense, our region, significantly higher. So in every year, so I think the nationwide index was 12-something this year, 9-something this year. I forget what it was this year, and then obviously, I think it was 3.6 actually, or 3.8 the year before. And obviously, these are all significantly higher than the 1.6 that we're seeing this year. So I don't know if we want to think about long-term a switch to like using a composite of these, and the composite, it's hard to see because that's right there, but it was 4.3%. So again, almost, well, I mean, actually it is triple what we're looking at. So, just again, something to think about as we move forward. Is it a composite, or do we just say, what, based on what our engineers are seeing, and the parks folks, based on what they're actually seeing for cost inflation, does it make sense to like pick a city based on that, or have a more, I guess, quantitative approach where it's, again, like an average of the 3, or we just identify like Denver's our pick, or whatever it may be. But I'll update the committee on this again, probably towards the end of the year. We'll see. All of them might be meaningless given the volatility that we're no doubt going to see over the next few months. But at any rate, I'll keep everyone posted on this if it's of any interest at all. If we just want to stick with nationwide, that's fine. But if there's any interest in this, I'll keep you updated.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Is Denver a good benchmark for Boise, just in terms of its ruralness, but also its historic growth over the years?
You know, I don't, honestly, I don't know, like, it's, you know, I don't know enough about how it stacks up relative to us. It's clearly further along
Yeah,
in the growth trajectory.
Yep.
But I would say that's, I mean, that's why there's indices for these 3 cities, but not for Boise.
yeah,
But I mean, I do think that, you know, when you're dealing with the coastal cities, there's a little bit of, there's fewer transportation costs that are involved to get like, you know,
Yes.
materials in. So Denver might be fairly comparable that way.
yeah.
Is there a Salt Lake one?
There is not. Yeah, again.
That was gonna be my question too.
Yeah, because that would be perfect. I mean, it's more comparably sized to us. I mean, it's actually almost the exact same size, isn't it?
Well, the city itself.
The city, yeah. You know, and just to elaborate on this one a little bit more, this is what happened during the year. So this slide was annual changes. This slide is looking at the last 12 months. You can see that, and I have no idea why this is, but you know, San Francisco, very little going on. But then even when you look at Seattle, it's very much all over the place.
A lot more variability.
Right, you have a couple years where it's, or a couple months where it's pretty, you know, 5 and change. Then it drops down, then it goes back up, then it drops down versus, you know, Denver, the red, seems to be, once we get past these 2 months, it seems to be relatively constant. It falls in this range, which is, you can't really see it well. Sorry, Joe, we have to move you around. You know, but this is just, you know, the LTM average through December through March, and if you look at just the full year, so just as of December of 24, it's that. So again, seems like it would be a better index, probably than either the nationwide, but certainly the San Francisco one. I don't think any of our construction folk would say that this is what we're seeing in pricing here in Boise.
What does LTM stand for?
Oh, last 12 months,
Oh,
so just year over year.
Thank you, I like this.
Fewer keystrokes, so I'm just lazy. I think we already dealt with this, but any other questions before we move on? So here, moving back is just, again, what we're asking for this year is we're sticking with the approach that we've taken historically. We'll continue to look at whether or not it makes sense to fine tune that a little bit. But for now, we're just asking for the 1.6 for the inflationary increase that would take effect on the 10/1.
Excellent. Anybody have any other questions? I can't see. Can you make it so we can see? Oh, yeah. There we go. Nice. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I think we're ready to entertain a motion.
All right, I would move to recommend the CY 2024 FY26 inflation adjustment of 1.6%, equal to the nationwide ENR BCI increase in CY
Thank you.
2024.
Thank you, Corbin.
I'll second
Motion
that.
to second that.
Michael's got the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, fiscal year 2026 impact fee funded parks projects.
Proposed.
Proposed park.
We have not finalized the budget yet, and so you are hearing it here first. But council, sorry, I got click happy. I tell my son never to do that. The council will be seeing these programmed into our FY26 budget request.
I would say with the exception of one item, everything was, you know, as long ago as a year ago has been, you know, kind of communicated to council, but yes, Sarah's absolutely right. None of this has been communicated in terms of a formal 26 budget ask, so it's asking for the recommendation from this committee, and then we take that recommendation into the budget book, which we present to council in early to mid-June.
Okay. This is what parks would like to do, would like to ask for.
That's what we hope to do.
Okay.
So Alta Harris, this park you have heard about a lot, so hopefully none of this is surprising. We are hoping to develop a portion of this park in fiscal year 26. As you may recall, in this current fiscal year, we have a budget of $1.5 million. And with that budget, we are working through access and utility needs. The Eckert Road improvement portion of this project is substantial. It's likely gonna be over $1 million in and of itself. We are drilling a well and doing some other site prep type work. The $3 million that is proposed in fiscal year 26's budget would be to utilize, we hope, to build a parking lot, to build some internal pathways, to put irrigation in, to put a bathroom in, and to landscape some of the site. We are working with our partner on this project, who was the previous landowner who provided the city with the land through a lease, not a lease, excuse me, an acquisition agreement. And we're hoping that they will provide additional funding that would allow us to put in more amenities. But given that our funding is limited, we are sticking with sort of the essentials that will be needed for further amenity development. And also to engage, energize the site, or and what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word?
Well,
I know, Trevor, what's the word? Sorry.
But we're basically just trying to get.
Activate, there it is.
Yeah,
We're trying to activate the site with the pathways and the landscaping. Any questions on Alta Harris?
One question. So of the $3 million, how much of that is coming from, this is southeast, I can't remember which region this one's in, and how much is there any coming from, general regional?
I believe that 1.5 million that we are utilizing this fiscal year is regional funding.
But the 3 million would be,
All southeast, but all south.
okay,
And I should point out, it depends, and we'll get into this later on the projections, but depending on how collections look, it should be roughly paid off. Probably, assuming we actually do all this work in 26, hopefully we end 26 with, only slightly negative to flat balance in the southeast account, but it will be close, and, just obviously any big development out there could move the needle a little bit, but it'll be close.
okay, that was my only question on this.
I have a question. Does this 3 million also include the construction of the pickleball?
At this point, we don't have pickleball scoped in with that 3 million, simply because it wouldn't make sense to build, a large pickleball complex without access to it.
Okay.
You need a parking lot, you need pathways. Those are the things that that's why we're prioritizing the parking lot, the pathways, and the restroom, with the hope that additional funding will become available from a private partner to do some of the other amenities. And depending on what that donation amount is, will determine what amenity we can put in, because there's also interest in the playground that we will not be able to likely not be able to fund with that 3 million.
Okay, so the graphic is kind of the long-term plan, not the first initial green up.
That is correct. This is the existing master plan that was put together. And incidentally, we're trying not to do master plans like this anymore, because we do overcommit and underdeliver by design. But this is what we've got.
Okay. Thank you.
Sarah, based off the topography, is that stormwater pond already is there investments needed for that as part of this kind of initial activation cost, or is that more long-term? Yes.
The stormwater pond has been surveyed, staked, located, and is going to be approved by ACHD civil plans. So
As part of the
that's-
Eckert Road stuff,
as
because
part- yeah, so that's this.
Yeah.
fiscal
Yes,
year.
the answer.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
There is 200,000 identified in our proposed 26 budget that would contribute to a greenbelt connection. It's not enough money to do it on its own, so we'll have to see And this one is going to be impacted by the future redevelopment of Eckert Road. So we are working with ACHD to try and coordinate how those funds can be additive to potential underpass of Eckert. So we'll have hopefully some good conversations in the next few months with ACHD about coordinating that. But it may be one of those puzzle pieces that, you know, falls a little outside of the other project element timeline. Simply because of the complexities of that spot.
Just on the Alta Harris and the Greenbelt connectivity is, if I'm correct, is that Eckert Bridge under construction? And if not, I know it's probably more of an ACHD question, but I didn't know if there would be any impact on the timeline based off of that Eckert Bridge construction long
Yes.
term? Okay.
Eckert Bridge is currently under construction. They're trying to shore it up so that they can have it open.
It's actually open.
There, it's open, there we go. So yeah, they did some construction to make sure they could open it, but they still need to replace it. And we are coordinating with them on that replacement because it will impact the Greenbelt alignment.
Thank you.
Sure. Liberty Park. A picture of one of the oldest playgrounds in the city. Liberty Park master plan there on the left. I don't know if any of you have visited Liberty Park, but that master plan is vastly different from the current layout of the actual park. We've had a lot of kind of conversion of issues with this park in the last 3-4 years. One of which is we have aging infrastructure that we need to replace. These old playgrounds are, they're almost 30 years old, and we can't find replacement parts for them anymore. They just don't exist in the marketplace. It's obviously not, you know, ADA compliant. The neighborhood is interested in putting a bathroom at this location and have been searching out different ways to fund that bathroom. I'm just giving you a little background here. And, you know, there's no paved parking, there's no ADA compliant pathways. This park has been on our list for improvements and enhancements for a number of years. And we were able to combine efforts with our neighborhood investment program, which was the funding entity that this community was looking to help fund a bathroom. A grant opportunity and impact fees and general fund dollars to put together a large scale project that will do a number of good things to the park. The impact fee dollars, $550,000, I believe, will support the addition of a new bathroom to serve the community. The other funding sources will fund the playground replacement, the pathway needs, and some other and sundry things, probably some sidewalks and stuff like that. We will need to amend the master plan for this because the current master plan is not gonna at all match the existing state, and it doesn't include a bathroom. So that's what's on here.
ACHD recently put a multi-use pathway along the western boundary of the park, which eliminated those 2 large trees in that upper left-hand corner, which used to shade the playground quite a bit. So that, and then there was a large multi-family development that's going in on the northeast corner of the site. It's adding a lot of new residents that we use this park as well. And then the Life Estate that is in the southwest corner there, portion of the park. Unfortunately, the lady that lived there has passed away. And so the Life Estate home has now been demolished. And so that's kind of an undeveloped area of the park that's kind of
Will
in flux
remain
as well.
undeveloped.
Yeah. So just some contextual information as well, so.
Is that literally the house that you kind of see outlined between the trees?
Any questions?
I think the one thing I would add, just, and Sarah was great to point it out, is, you know, impact fees are not for replacement of things, so that's why, you know, we were very clear on, it's not going for the replacement of the playground, it's the new things that are going in there that are growth related.
You pre-answered my question. Great.
I would add it's a pretty big park to not have a bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, Spalding Ranch. As we continue to bring improvements to this site, we are excited in fiscal year 26 to add additional pathways. This is another situation where we have a really great master plan that we are trying desperately to fulfill with incredibly limited funding. We have put the access drive in that is depicted there on the top of the picture. And we still,
The photo there shows the entrance, yeah.
yeah, there they are. And the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
And so the next phase will be utilizing, I believe it's 1.5 million that's programmed for FY26 to put internal pathways. This site is unique, I don't know if it's unique, but is the pathways are of particular interest because it provides a key connection between Milwaukee Park, the Goddard Park site, which we will be renaming and opening this spring, all the way to Hyatt Hidden Lakes. So it's part of a pathways project to make the connection from Spalding Ranch through Milwaukee Park to the sidewalk on Milwaukee. Then you can have sidewalk access over to the Goddard Park site across the street, and then again sidewalk access over to Hyatt Hidden Lakes. So we're working with the pathways folks on some of the necessary approvals and design that would be on the path connection, the northwest corner of the site. Any questions? That one's pretty straightforward. If you know anybody who loves historic buildings and loves urban agriculture, we have a lot of buildings that need love and attention and funding for restoration and replacement at the Homestead site.
I believe when you took us on the tour, you showed us some of those
Yes.
homes that were when, like, I believe like when Boise was more or less founded or in and around that time, very old dwellings, really cool.
Yeah, it's a neat spot. It's gonna, we'll keep chipping away at it. You know, the more you can activate a site, hopefully the more engagement you can get with the community, because we're gonna need community partners here.
If I can
Is
clarify.
that, are they looking for funding or for volunteer work on the buildings?
Oh, funding. Yeah, they're not publicly accessible, and nor should they be.
No painting parties? Okay.
No, unfortunately. We'll get the job done.
A structural evaluation part.
Yeah, right.
Bring your own architect.
Were you gonna say that, Drew?
I just wanted to clarify, I believe the funding in FY25 is being used for the primary pathway network. And FY26 is asked for a new
Oh,
restroom.
you're right.
Barn
My
and
fault.
cold storage, which is shown where it says the future restroom there, there's a pad there. So I just wanted to clarify what
Thank you,
funding is
Trevor.
going for what amenities in what year. So,
Yeah, and I think it'll be a neat structure because it won't be, it'll be a unique design.
yeah, the design that we have, the architecture is made to mimic the barn. So it has a barn roof, it's gonna be barn red. It's historically site architecture appropriate, so. I meant to throw some design renderings in here, but.
It's the thought that counts.
Okay,
Oh, this is my slide in a second.
good, because I don't want to do that.
So there's a whole bunch of numbers. The key is every year we adjust the amount for vehicles for whatever the annual increase is. So last year, i.e. in this fiscal year, allocation was 30,147. So if you add the 1.6% to that, next year would be 30,629. And this goes to buy some sort of long-term truck because it has to last at least 10 years, or it has to have an expected life of 10 years. So that's typically not gonna be like an F-150, it's like, 1 times, 2 times, bigger vehicles like that, that'll have longer lives. So that would be I would say, the prior things that Sarah was talking about, the only one with the overall budget change was Liberty Park, but that's not a change to impact fee budgets. This is the only one that represents a change. Obviously, it's not like asking for an additional 1.6 on a $3 million project, so.
All right, so,
About any of this.
so we're including the vehicle thing in the city parks, basically in the motion for the city parks. Impact fee funded parks projects, we're including the vehicle thing in that. Okay.
And at least it's not clear from the agenda, but hopefully this is at least lines it out.
Okay.
Really well.
Oh, yep, I see parks vehicles down there.
Got it. And most of it's visible, so you don't have to guess into too much what it says.
All right, any questions? Are we ready? Go, Mike.
The 1-ton vehicle or truck that you're looking at, is that accurate estimate and?
Oh, that's just the impact fee dollars.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Portion of it.
and I would show you the whole budget, but
No.
it's like,
You want
depending on how many of those,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Or do I get a $30,000 one time?
Oh, yeah, we bought a 10-year-old.
Thank you.
All right, seeing nothing else, are we ready for a motion? We might be.
I'd like to make a motion to move to recommend the impact fee revenue budget proposed for FY 2026 parks projects.
Thank you. Seconded, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D under new business, fiscal year 2026 budget build revenue estimate. So this should be interesting.
Yeah, this is gonna be a much, also with the last meeting I was at here, so I guess that would have been the February meeting, we talked a little bit about this, and basically the takeaway that I had come out of is try to look a little bit closer at not just, 10% of our 10-year collections, but a little bit customized based on what types of permits, so like the Micron and commercial permits being way up, as well as looking at by park planning area to try to dial those in a little bit. And so you've seen these before. And so actually revenues have continued to be pretty good. So I think this was the estimate, the budget office estimate before was, I think 7.9. And so it's crept up a little bit. Southwest continues to really outperform, as do police and fire. And I think this might be also a little bit higher than we talked about last time, might have been a flat 8 before or something like that. But obviously, all of these are driven by, well, I shouldn't say all of them. So the high level estimate is pretty simplistic and just grows it at a flat rate based on, whatever we're projecting for this year. The statistical forecast is, I would say poorly informed when it comes to what's going on in the economy today. So, highly discounted there. Based on permit types of this, just says, all right, if we took the PDS, the Planning Development Group, and they say, all right, well, we're expecting residential permits to go up by X, which was 5%, commercial go up by 20%, what would that lead to? So that's based on 2024 results. So again, kind of forecasting effectively a year and a half in the future is pretty difficult. So again, just given the uncertainty, I'm basically trying to keep it level, more or less, with where we are in the where we think we're going to be in the current fiscal year. There's probably still some, I would say, downside risk here. But again, I just don't know how you budget for that at this point. If I knew how to forecast stuff like that, I'd probably be retired living on my own island somewhere now, working for the city. And then this just breaks it. I gotta move something. There we go. Yeah, that's still not good. Yeah, that's perfect. All Alright, so this just lays out like for all the different categories, what the collections have been historically, and this right here shows the downside of the method that I was using, which is just 10% across the board, because it projected a lot more growth in central Bench than we're actually seeing. You know, I mean, again, 115 is what we collected last year, we're probably gonna get 90 this year. The good news is there's a project in consideration, it would be a couple $100,000 in central Bench. So if and when that hits, that could be a big mover. But again, like you just can see how far off of reality the numbers are. Like again, even though the adopted budget here, it still is recreating the problem we had in 24, where the Micron and commercial development just drove so much police and fire and nothing on the park side. So generally, if you look at the parks forecast, these are kind of in line to slightly up from what we have, what we expect to get in 25. And then the police and fire kind of in line. Again, just not really knowing what the outcome's gonna be with all the tariffs, but you can see like, you know, up slightly on fire, police is basically flat. Regional's up a tiny bit, just reflecting a little bit more growth in residential. And I would flag Southwest as kind of the big question mark. Again, with the recent annexation decisions, it could continue to see this much growth, or it could just be a one-time fluke. I mean, again, like we're tracking for record collections this year, which again, is that repeatable? I don't know. But it seems not unlikely given the annexation out there.
Do you forecast future annexations in the Southwest region, or?
It's I don't know, because it's a political decision. And so because of that, I'm just kind of focused on, all right, well, what are we seeing based on the current decisions?
Yeah.
Because as the budget guy, my own view on what we should be annexing or not, and so it's just, you know, until there's decisions, it's just looking at basically where we are today and trying to extrapolate that trend. Absolutely. So I'd say the two big questions again are Southwest, what happens out there again, will it continue to be an almost record-breaking year again? And again, if we hit that one development that would bring nearly, I think it was 300 units to the bench, obviously the 90 will be a bit low.
I would rather budget low.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I would point out is, again, this isn't anything, this is just for discussion, not looking for formal recommendations on this.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would point out is, just going back to Liberty Park, that is in Central Bench. And the Central Bench Impact Fee Fund is still paying off Franklin Park. It might be paid off at the end of this year, most likely not. So that's gonna continue to be in the red for a while, or have an IOU to the capital fund, and, you know, city leadership's okay with, you know, they know if they advance the project, that it means that the capital fund will be floating it for a while. This is the final one of these slides.
Questions? Okay, I don't hear any. Thank you for that heads up. All right, anything else? As I scan my fellow committee members, I don't see any. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting today.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
We stand adjourned.